checking screen tearing.
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot I was going to do that.
I was about to say.
It seems fine enough for me. Good enough for government work.
Screen tearings. No, that doesn't work.
Oh, things be exploding. So, here's a question. Just because. I'm going to get blown.
This is taking this conversation in a different direction than what I was originally thinking.
Well, this will be a short and sweet, to the point.
Short and sweet point.
Just because I'm curious, since you drew attention to it earlier. We didn't draw attention to it, but you did say this. I'm curious, in your perception, what distinguishes between the recording and the quote. I forget what you said, actually. I don't know if you said hanging out or something like that. Because you are the one who draws the distinction.
Well,
since you were originally like, oh, I don't know that I have anything to talk about.
It's not as much that I have anything to talk about as much as it is. This requires a different kind of mental energy.
See,
not that it's a bad
I don't know why. You're acting like you put a lot of thought into this?
Well, no. I mean, that's
across.
Hardly... Wow. Appreciate you. You're just full of those tonight, aren't you?
Well, I'm not saying I'm any different. I mean, I'm just saying I don't feel like it's a different headspace, really.
No, I agree. My point is,
you're gonna.
Here's what it is. Here's what it comes
expose the lie
to.
To the fact that this is what. Whoop.
Here's what it comes down to. So
Spooky,
if you're ready
skeletons.
and everybody else is ready, I am very well aware that in certain days when I'm going into it and I know that I'm tired and I'm going to fall asleep, I'd rather not do that on air.
Is that all it is? Because you'd rather, okay.
Whereas if it's just off air, it's sucks to be you.
Yeah, but why don't you just say, hey, I'd like to go to bed? That's an option too, you know.
It is, and that is a question I think for...
It's a question everyone's wondering.
Well, that's true. That's more of a...
Stubbornness.
It's partially that. I think it's also a bit of a...
Uh-oh. Something going on down at the farm.
What is it called? There's a word I'm looking for, and it's escaping me. Well, it's not going to come to me. So, you're making essentially a decision on what's more important. You're, creating there we go, a hierarchy. You're just going, okay, well, yes, I need to sleep, and obviously that's on a physical level something that's required, but at the same time, there's also, I would say, I don't know if mental, going to sleep to me fulfills the physical need of like, hey, I need to be ready for the next day. But there's also a degree of mental relaxation or unplugging that fulfills a bit of a long-term...
Oh, boy. Okay.
I hate this level because of the fact that it just makes no sense to me as far as how to get...
Oh, well, you're way over there. I was in the right spot. I just fell down a really steep hill.
Well, I end up stuck in dumb places because I don't like this level. It's something about
dumb places.
Anyway, no, so there's a
time
that the mental
I feel like we
space...
we got a lot of mileage out of both of us being exasperated and tired last week.
Well, sure, but I mean, was it useful mileage?
Well, who cares?
Well,
because you can't go lying
not
to people.
Everything
we said from the very beginning that the reason we did this is because it was what we were already doing.
Yes,
There's something to be said for cutting loose and playing a game.
Yes, what I'm getting at is that there are times that the physical need to sleep will definitely outweigh the, okay, I'm wanting to decompress, and other times that you want to milk the clock a little bit because cliffs of insanity that get me stuck.
That's precisely why you want to milk that clock, because cliffs.
No, because it just... There are certain days where it's just like, no, this isn't going to work for me as far as just going straight into the next day. Yes, sure, you can get good sleep and then feel like I at least am not exhausted for the next day, but then you end up feeling.
It doesn't.
It avoids it. What it does is it offsets the feeling of the daily grind that becomes so
sure,
monotonous.
but that still doesn't
it's,
explain the
that it's
difference in your language between. Because that doesn't answer the question of why not just go to bed then. Because that's a choice.
Yeah, it is.
And yet you act like there's somehow a third choice, which is, well, we don't have to record anything, but like, we can still do something. And then I just wonder, why? If you're tired.
So, what I'm hearing is, unless we are recording, you don't want to hang out.
Oh, but I'm saying if we were going to hang out, we would naturally hang out doing this.
Well, sure.
So what's the difference, I guess, is my point.
Well,
if you're too tired to do this, what makes this any different than being too tired to watch a show? Unless you're just hoping for a crafty nod off.
No, it's not even that. As much as it is when I'm applying... For us, most of the time, even if we are just playing a game or doing something like that, we are having discussions, and sometimes those discussions can be fruitful and require a bit of... I wouldn't call it mental gymnastics, maybe, but some degree of getting your head around a new idea or something like that. And so, whereas watching a movie is a little bit, or a show or something like that is a little bit more like, yeah, I just want to turn my brain off. But it just depends on the context of the evening. I think either way, fundamentally, what that fulfills is the same thing, which is essentially, I don't want to go into either the next day or the next week or what have you, having felt like I'm just kept my head down and not come up for air at all. That's like my least favorite feeling. It's just feeling like you got everything done you needed to get done, and maybe on an operational efficiency level,
just wasting grenades.
You feel like you are accomplishing something, but you're not really doing anything. It starts to feel monotonous, and then you
see all your explanations are making sense in terms of do something or don't do something, but
right.
that doesn't explain the distinction between the natures of something.
Yes, it does. I talked about the idea of, again, needing a little bit more mental energy.
Yeah,
to
but you don't have to. That's something you impose on yourself. You could just be dumb if you wanted.
Sure, you could do that.
You could just say incoherent things or talk about, hey, you could be president for all we know.
Just have massive gaffes. That's what we're going to do now. Just sleep gaffes.
Or we could talk about, who's your favorite Muppet?
What?
I was thinking about this today because...
It's not even that I don't want to have... Okay, It's
not inherently trite. It's a psychological profile of some sorts, but it's not a serious one. Now you got to answer.
Well, if I had to answer, it would be... I don't know the Muppets well enough to really name every single one of them, but it would have to be the...
Whoa.
Okay, I got zapped to your butt.
I think, whose butt did the zapping? Well, we're zapping all over. Okay.
We're standing right next to each other, you weirdo.
I don't know what's causing this. Is this... Okay, so I'm gonna take a stab based purely on... I don't think it's a distance-based thing.
What do you think it is?
That's fascinating. So it isn't that we're too far away from each other distance-wise. It's if one of us is about to cross. I bet you there's some kind of a loading
into
transition.
Like the new.
Yeah,
space.
I bet you there's a loading transition. So it says if one person passes the loading before the other.
Gotcha.
Then I would have thought that there's like some amount of buffer. That if you're literally right next to me, I don't see why it would. That still feels a bit glitchy. Oh. Now you're zapping me to you. I was the one going into the right spot. Either that or it's entirely possible that the game's having a poo. But that's what I would have guessed.
No, I don't.
What's with the group?
Remind me of the dog's name. He's probably my favorite.
Oh, see, now you're just going to copy me.
No,
subconsciously.
You
read my mind and then stole my answer.
Okay. Either him
it's
or...
It's Ralph easily. He's mine
Ralph.
too. But now that makes us seem hipsterish and like we're trying too hard. I didn't think you'd think the same thing.
I don't know why.
Y'all don't realize that I've just been talking to myself and putting on voices. He doesn't actually exist. He's a projection of my subconscious.
Which is why sometimes you end up talking to yourself for real.
Because I run out of voices to do.
No, I think the reality of it is that I don't obviously intend to leave you in the lurch. Neither do I.
Oh, butt zap.
Neither do I.
Oh, oi, mate!
Butt zap is actually my.
Okay, he's actually shooting me.
That was my nickname in high school.
Okay, so he's like actually. Oi! Well, I was gonna wait and see.
Well, sorry.
I was gonna wait and see if he ever actually stopped that because we got the health to tank it.
Well.
Because at first I thought it was like he was reacting and he was gonna shoot us once before realizing, oh, you're not an enemy, but he never did.
Well, he was having PTSD.
Well,
Somebody.
he
had
was,
to take him
and yeah, that's not how you deal with that.
out. Oh, that's terribly unfeeling. I'm sorry.
I think we're about to meet the flood.
There is times that our discussions get awfully heady, and that's great. And I
Well,
enjoy
if you could
those.
just then
I almost do better when they are heady because
it certainly
when they're
seems
not,
to keep you awake. Apparently.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When they're not as heady, then it's like, then Steve went off and drowned himself.
Well, then you could just start. Well, then you now I don't
get
know
a
what to
bucket
tell
of
you.
water and drown himself.
I don't know what to tell you then if you're saying, well, I don't want them to get heady, but they're better when they are.
No, I'm not saying I don't want them to get heady. What I'm saying is I certainly never want to leave you again in a place where it's like, okay, well, now I'm just making crap up all my own. Because
Yeah, but I mean, have you never wondered who your favorite Muppet was?
Well,
you could ask that. That's a question that's valid enough.
That particular conversation hasn't ever come up, and I don't know that
You certainly don't like when we talk about cheese. I've learned that lesson.
Do you really have a deep connection with cheese? That's what
No, it mostly is because I asked it once because I was like, it's literally I was quoting a film about because it was just a sort of generic question that you ask to get to know someone who's about cheese.
Exactly. Find out what they do.
Well, exactly. I knew you would know, but then you like refused to answer it, and so it became a joke of the fact that you would never answer it whenever I asked
Asking a man what their favorite cheese is a fairly personal question.
Last time you acted like it was the opposite. You acted like I don't know what cheese is.
Wow.
I couldn't possibly answer that.
I don't know what cheese is.
You were like, I don't have much. I don't know that I have a favorite cheese. I don't know that I think about cheese. And I'm like, well, you've had cheese.
My favorite cheese.
You acted as though it was like I don't know enough about cheese to have a favorite. I'm like, well, you've had cheese, certainly.
Had cheese. Whoa.
If I had asked what's your favorite form of, Chinese sausage, then maybe I'd understand your confusion. But you've had cheese, I hope. Muppets, at least. I was thinking about it today because I overheard people talking about it, and I was like, oh, that is a decent question. That was a concerningly abrupt cutscene transition.
He's listening. He's waiting.
He's listening through his shoulder. He did not put his head to the door.
He's like,
Look, here comes the flood. Here comes the flood.
The floodgates are opening.
Well, quite literally.
About
to open the floodgate. Oh, there he is. George C. Flood. That was him. He doesn't look dead. We're dragging him around like he's just a test dummy. His legs are all floppy. Is he actually dead or is he? All right, so here's. I like that little pause he did before he considered the helmet for a moment, put his gun down, and looked at it, and went,
Now, is he taking like a recording from the helmet? Is that
apparently, yeah, the helmets record.
I mean,
it's like body cam, but helmet cam. I am remembering more now that where in the book this took place.
It gives me some encouragement that this game wasn't good in its day for just no reason. As much as graphics, I know, obviously played some degree of a role, it certainly had its own good story.
I thought so. A lot of people think that it's sort of...
What?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a bit of the case that it got criticized for being tropey after it set a bunch of new tropes. It's like, that's not its fault that everything copied it afterwards. Then again, I'm sure some people would say, actually, it was copying this other game that I used to like. Some people probably would say it copies things like Deus Ex or Half-Life or
And then people come out of the woodwork and OGs say, "Yeah, I was actually copying
Jet Set
Pong."
Willie. That's every game since has copied Jet Set Willie.
Jet Set Willie.
No original ideas have happened since 1979.
Well, there may be some credence to that.
Well, what was your topic you were going to talk about?
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on Chamber of Commerce
Muppets.
and its role in
I don't even know
local
what they do.
politics.
I don't even know what it actually
So
accomplishes.
Chamber of Commerce is typically just businesses and things of that nature. Also school, and then like the like the mayor and some of those basic, governmental towns folk. But I don't exactly know if I resist saying it's ineffective in actual government systems, because what that says is that the bottom level really is irrelevant, and that's not the case. I don't think that, but
it's not the same as like a city council.
no, it's not, and that's the thing, is I think it feels a little bit at times like City Chamber of Commerce is significant, but it starts to get to where it's like, guys, there's bigger fish to fry here. We can't.
You
be
still
talking
haven't explained
about
anything about what it actually is.
So I just got.
Because I admit
done,
that I don't even know.
I just got done with a gala that we went to tonight, or if you're from Texas, gala, which is incorrect. It's gala.
Well, now you've angered a bunch of people.
But anyway, we went to this fancy dinner event, however you want to pronounce it, and
prefer diner. Went to a fancy diner. Hey, I'd have been all right with that, actually.
And we obviously were all suited up and everything like that. It was great and it was fun. But the point is, when they got to the whole, hey, here's why we're all here, it just became this like massive.
Here's why we're all here. But see, the
backtracking.
question is, why were you all there?
Well, we were there because within the Chamber of Commerce, it's like a way of connecting with, hey, here's the things that are going on in the school, and here's how you could get involved and stuff like that. So it
This
does
sounds
really.
like a city council then.
It is. I mean,
But
to
it
some-
isn't, because there's a city council. Unless
Well,
there
Chamber of
isn't.
Commerce and the City Council work fairly closely together.
I don't know
like
how
they're
they
not.
do.
I mean, the businesses are fairly involved in council matters.
I suppose.
So council members are certainly there. It's just
Whoop. Here they are.
let them have it, and then you just stick it on your head. You could do that. Did you see that
It's
guy?
like a lampshade at a party.
Let him have it, or you could just let him suck your face.
Hey,
That's
I'm a
fine.
wacky guy. Let me put this on my head. I like how the guy whose helmet we're ostensibly viewing
Is in
basically just watched all this happen. He didn't seem to have much input. Unexpected halt.
unexpected halt, and then
And record. It's a smart helmet. Oh,
he throws it away.
Oh, guy's dead. I'll turn off. Gotta save battery, don't you know? I mean, I guess it might be connected to some kind of life sign monitoring system. But that means
can't
every helmet.
recall-
That's a lot of expensive helmets for every single soldier to be wearing. I still don't know what a Chamber of Commerce actually achieves in its.
Well, it's meant to integrate businesses together in their desire, or in their kind of effectively it unites businesses behind city matters. So
So
whether
is it
that's
essentially the modern equivalent of a guild, which is
a guild?
that's awfully sad
Well-
because guilds used to be pretty cool. And if this is the best we can do, then
No, what it is.
Oh,
is
heavens above!
What it is essentially
Here
a
comes
way
the
of
flood, gonna get
in
you.
it. Okay, so I'll describe what it should be. It should be a bunch of businesses coming together and saying, "What should we rally our money around?" Which sounds like a terrible cash grab.
Oh
but
heavens!
Really,
Okay, so they don't.
it
stop.
makes sense to say, okay,
Well,
as
guilds used to be
businesses-
a thing back in the day, back when it made sense for businesses to say, "What are we all going to?
get behind.
What
Right,
can we all
so-
agree on so that we don't?"
So that's essentially, in an ideal sense, what it should be. What it becomes is this
Aren't
massive.
we a bunch of cool people?
Exactly. It becomes a bit of the social club that's like, look at all this money I spent on this city
Ah!
this month, and then I get all these awards because.
Oh,
of the
okay,
fact
big
that I
boys are
spent all this
involved
money.
now. It isn't
And
just the scores.
He has some massive armed testicles.
Well, I mean, thanks.
Thanks. Are you one of these?
I mean, I don't know if he would thank you for that or if he'd take offense.
Maybe it's something else.
I might be proud of that, I guess. I mean, they're on my arm now, but they're twice
I'm
the
a
size they
woman.
used to
I'm
be.
sorry. No.
Well, I mean, that doesn't have to limit.
Okay. Yes, it does.
I mean, if they're on your arm, something tells me they're non-functioning.
That's maybe true. All of that to say, it's become a bit of a way of nepotistically saying, look at all this cash I use. You should make me some sort of a person within the city. And then I fear that bleeds into politics, and it bothers me.
I think what you meant by that is politics.
Well, sure. But is it though?
I mean, it is. The question is whether it
it's
should
what
be.
politics has become, certainly. Is that what politics should be? No. I think
Hello.
recently I came across a YouTube video that actually represented, or it was like a city councilman or something like that, and he basically talked about the idea that he would much rather listen to his constituents whether or not they were as smart on a business level as these other people that were within the Fortune 500 companies, and basically said, even if they know more based on experience, I work for my constituents, so therefore if they don't want to put their money behind something, we shouldn't. And I was like, well, that's true, and I think most people even would probably disagree with that. And I go, well, while I don't disagree that your constituents ought to try to inform themselves, which is what you should do if you aren't in politics, you should try to at least be a useful and contributing member of your city, in that you vote and actually are involved in local issues. But if your constituents have a particular perspective on something, even if you, albeit poor perspective, or you disagree, I think it's still your civic duty to say, well, unfortunately, I still have to vote with my people. I mean,
why is that unfortunate? That's what you signed up for.
We're right, and what has happened is essentially that perspective is marred by the idea of like, oh well, but all these people that are wiser have paid me money, so I'm going to do it.
That's not even it. What you're just describing is that lobbying sucks.
Well, sure, but we've already known that.
Well, I mean, clearly not, because we're still doing it.
Well, sure.
Whoa. More butt zapping.
Butt zapping, because we're going into...
butt zap man!
Tentacle...
That would be my other...
Mr.
That would be one of my other campaign promises, is I will end lobbying.
Well, so he's running for Congress. That's
I mean, I sure...
No, I'm saying...
Put it on your write-in, and I'll get a letter one day going, hey! I don't even live in Minnesota.
But I mean, outside of
because
the problem is,
here's the thing:
lobbying is going to exist. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, unless you outlaw it.
But even if you outlaw it, it's going to exist, as we found with organized crime.
Well, no, I think it's slightly different, because lobbying is something that... Well, we used to have the concept of lobbying, which is what was basically the equivalent of writing your congressman. It was you saying, hey, here's a thing that I care about, and I'd like you to consider this, when decisions get made in the federal level, or even the local level. The problem is, most people don't do that. They instead give their money to a group who does that full time. So you have people who are professionally useless, who stay in Washington, where everyone useless is.
Well, and
they just say, our job is to rub shoulders with politicians and tell them about your concerns. The problem is, unless
you've made it a professional thing to represent.
Yeah, and it's like, and then guess what? Those people don't actually care about solving your problems, because then they would be out of a job. Right. So instead, their job is to constantly tell politicians about your problem, but also ensure that the problem never goes away. So what it should just be is lobbying should be illegal, and people should just be encouraged to write their congressman or whatever. Because the thing is, there's a great video or series of videos by Mr. Beat is his name, not Mr. Beast. I get them confused. Mr. Beat, who does a bunch of political videos, and he has several about how he called the offices of every senator and every congressman just to see who responded. And it's like these, and I mean, in some ways, he's actually, I think, doing good civic work, because he's like, okay, these are the congressmen who didn't answer at all. These are the ones who I spoke to, one of their sort of junior lackeys who then never followed up. These are the ones who actually did follow up, and then I subsequently got an email from the congressman.
Well, that's kind of.
And that was like, of the 6 or something hundred congressmen, he got like 12 of those, which is a shame. But it's like, that should be more the standard. It's like, you should actually be able to call your congressman and have him pick up the phone.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I understand that he probably needs some assistance because he can't answer every single phone call. But, okay, I'm getting annoyed with the butt zapper. Oh, this is the butt zap chamber.
This is a butt zap chamber.
So this seems to be, okay, you're the butt. You're blocking. I mean, I guess.
It's awfully big. It's a butt.
Well,
That is America's.
Well, I mean, you're 1,000 pounds, I suppose. It's 1,000-pound butt, so it seems that is
Just
the corridor that zaps the butt. So don't zap that corridor's butt.
Don't zap that. Now let me see you zap that up on the floor.
Wow. So, anyways, lobbying's the problem. Is
yes,
my
it
point.
is. And that. Really, I suppose that's what my point is, but it bothers me. That
I suppose how could you
even
actually
on a city local level, it's the fact that that's present is just.
Well, I don't know how much local lobbying.
Irksome, I suppose, is
because
more.
Local lobbying, I don't know that you could.
What's the equivalent of local lobbying other than some guy going, I'm gonna, in order to gain influence, I'm gonna pay for the baseball team this year, and then people
that's not
go.
Lobbying though, because all he's done.
It's not, but at the same time,
now people know he's the guy who paid for the baseball team. Like,
yes,
there's nothing wrong with that.
He gets awards for it because
I mean,
everybody's like,
you could argue that that's a bit,
congruent.
No, you could argue that that's a little bit. Trying to find a word that isn't rude.
Self-serving.
Sure, that'll do.
But
ultimately, that doesn't affect politics if some guy gets an award for sponsoring the baseball team.
Well, it does if then he later runs and people go, oh yeah, the guy who paid for baseball. Let's do that.
But that's.
And it's like, well,
whether or not he got
be an absolute trash politician, and he just.
I suppose. Okay, get out of the butt zap chamber. This is the butt zap room.
Butt zap. I can't. I don't know where I'm going.
No, okay. Okay, we're going through this door. No, through the door. You keep zapping me to you.
Through the door.
Okay,
it's
through this door.
Me.
Through this door. Follow my arrow. Don't go the other way. Now, this door we came through last time, but it is now broke. So are we not supposed to be in here anymore? Because I thought we needed to get up to the second level. And that door was the one that did that.
You spot. I thought that I already did get over to the second level.
Well, we were up on the second level a little bit ago, but how do we get back up since we've now fallen down? That's the butt zap room.
I'm not trying to get to the butt zap room. I'm trying to use this.
Butt zap is the only way to. Oh! Hang on. You could probably jump up on these thingies.
That's what I was doing.
Well, I don't know that I can get anywhere from here though.
Your butt looks awfully nice up there.
Oh boy!
Just letting you know. This has now turned into some sort of weird, modified Coyote Ugly.
Okay, hang on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll crouch and you can jump on me.
And then we're into some other territory that's not Coyote Ugly.
Now the problem here, though, is that this isn't like one of those cool GIFs of the military people who scale walls with like the teams of 3.
Okay, speaking of GIFs from the military, can we talk about the naval's absolute asinine picture that they posted?
You mean the Navy? I don't know about anybody's navals.
No, the Navy literally
posted... Get on the second level. I'm sitting here crouching for you to try and stand on my shoulders.
Well, okay. I don't think this is going to work.
The problem is you're not going to have any means of...
Oh!
I knew it was going to work for you. The question is it's not going to help me.
No, it's not.
Well, just walk away and zap me to you, I hope.
Well, I suppose that's an option.
I mean, the question is...
We're doing this Army of Two style. Have you played that game? It's actually a decent game.
No, I've heard that they sucked.
Well, I disagree.
Because normally, obviously,
one of those
what would make sense is you would then just hold out your arm and I could...
Oh, no, this isn't where we're supposed to be because we've been in this room before.
Yeah, but we didn't get a clear direction on where to go from here. Unless it's back through the butt zap room, which, given the name, seems to
this way and
suggest the thing I don't want to be in.
It doesn't seem.
Because you've seen those gifs of it's 3 guys who have to scale a wall that's like way taller than them.
3 guys on a wall.
So have you? I mean, do you know what I'm talking about?
3 guys, 1 wall.
Because if I don't have to explain it, I won't. Because it's quite hard to explain conceptually.
Say it again.
But it's basically like you got 3 guys that have to get over a pretty tall wall. So one of them sort of braces himself against the wall. One of them jumps up on that guy's shoulder and then like grabs onto the wall, but he doesn't climb over. He's got his leg hanging down. The third guy jumps on the other guy's shoulders, grabs the guy's leg, climbs over the wall. And then the guy, that was you. The guy who was bracing and boosting them up basically has to just take a... It is.
It's not.
Well, okay, it was neither of us then. Because both of them were lit. Both, like the guy then has to basically just take a flying leap to jump as high as he can, and the other guy has to try and catch him. And then they all pull themselves over the wall together. It's an impressive thing, and anyone who's seen it knows what I mean. But my point is, like, if this was real life, you could obviously just help. Okay, the problem is I can't get back up here. I don't know how I did it the first time. But it's close enough that you could obviously just I could help me get over there. But I can't. How did I do this the first time?
There's a weird spot on the back I think you have to go to.
It seems like I actually need to be further away than up close. Because I sort of... Whoop, hey, oh.
No, so can we talk about... Did you see the Navy posting
Not
that picture?
the Navy!
It's like an E5 or something like that.
See, I should just be able to jump and, like, grab your ankle or something.
And many people have talked about it on...
I don't know what an E5 is. What is
well, an E5, I said. It's like an officer of a higher rank. But he is literally holding a rifle with... It's an AR-15 or an M4 model of some kind. And they literally have the scope on backwards.
Just the scope?
And he's looking through the scope, and he's got the lens cap of the scope on.
See,
he's looking down at, and they're shooting this picture, and it's like, okay,
come over here so I can get
no
a third.
one prove these pictures before you send them out on social media? Because this is making our Navy look real stupid.
Come over to this corner and give me a third-person view.
People have commented on it, and I know other Navy guys have been like,
"How about
guys,
you do what I asked you to do? What I asked you to do while you tell me the story."
What are you on about?
Saying, come over to this corner. I need a third-person view to actually see what amount of clearance I have here.
Well, I don't think it's much. I think you're probably trying to stay.
Well, because this is much closer to the corner, but the
like
question
trying
is, will
to
the
ride.
See, you should be able to grab me. I should be able to honestly just my arms were clearly above that. I could have made it.
Anyway,
like this, I should be able to. Now, I don't think squat jumping was a thing in this era. It might even be. It looked like that was going to work for a second.
It looked like it was going to work. Here, let me see if I can give you a little bit better perspective there.
Okay.
Gotta
go from the turret to the crate. The lesser-known Five-Finger Death Punch song.
Turret to the crate. From the turret to...
Hey, yo!
Oh, that was close.
Looks like I'm doing a cannonball.
So, anyway, they posted this, and Navy guys were commenting and going, guys, this is not doing us any favors and making us actually look like competent soldiers. And then so that was the initial response. And the Navy obviously tried to play it off like, we were just fooling. But it was like, no, there's nothing in this picture that indicates you guys were messing about. And then the other reaction was there were under officers that were like, yeah, these E5s don't know what they're doing, and we pull this kind of crap on them all the time that basically demonstrate that, like, the upper officers don't always know what they're actually doing. And then the Marines threw just the best shade ever.
Okay, come over here now. I need another third-person view.
Because when you see the Marines' response, or not response, but it was like a post right at soon after that, and it was basically the same picture, but the the scope wasn't put on the rifle backwards or reversed.
You're gonna need to stand on the bridge or get closer or something.
Oh, sure.
Okay, this is probably my best vantage point. Oh, I'm gonna miss it.
And the
Gotta get on the leg.
well, that's what I was trying to do
Oh,
earlier.
there we go.
Oh, that was so close. You would have had it. But then the Marines posted basically the equivalent picture and just said accurate sight picture. Because they actually had the lens cap off and it was like, this hurts. So anyway, that was just sidebar because you said something about memes and that.
Well, the thing I was talking about wasn't exactly a meme. It was just,
Or what have you.
it's just an actual, like, I don't know what you'd call it, a maneuver or something.
Anyway, I'm curious what your thoughts
It'll be
were on that,
funny.
or whether you saw that, because
It'll be funny if I manage to get up here, only to find out that we are supposed to go somewhere else now.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's anything of use up here.
Yay! Squat jumping.
But the question
We can do
is,
squats.
there is nothing up here except for this weird glowing.
The
bit.
broken door. What about the other door?
It's
We were up here
closed.
before,
Well, that's
and
what
now
I
the
was-
door downstairs is broke.
It broke. It will not break. It broke.
Hang on. So here's okay. Okay, this is where we were. This is
Well,
the
that's
room
what I
of
was-
dead.
I agree. That's what I was saying.
Well, were we supposed to leave the room of dead?
you cannot get your room of death.
I mean, for all we know, there's a place to be.
Anyway, but
I don't know.
yeah. So I'm just like, so
I
on a
would be
local
the
level.
most based politician.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. It's
Problem is, for that reason alone, I will never get elected.
well, that is a
Because my
Sad
program would be, insurance is a scam, lobbying is outlawed.
But how do you enforce that?
Well, lobbying, I think the thing about lobbying is that essentially it didn't exist until we created a system for it. So all you have to do is take that system away.
No, because corporate.
No, I just
Corporate
basically say super
support-
PACs are illegal. You're not allowed to give a politician money for any reason whatsoever.
Wow, that's a staunch stance.
Well, okay.
Because there still has to be fundraising and all that.
Well, but
bit.
see, does there though?
Well, that's a valid argument. I
mean, the
suppose.
argument could just be you're not.
Keith, darn it, change your method.
I mean,
it's not useful.
It's a valid question of. Because what does a politician fundraise for? I mean, most of the fundraising he does is so that he can
So
campaign more.
Continue travel. Yeah, that's
Yeah, but
true.
it's just like, well, how about you do your job and let that speak for itself?
if people want to see you, they'll come to you.
I mean, before Dan Crenshaw became a neoconservative, this was his
Wow.
whole platform.
that's hard.
I'm sad to say it. I used to respect the guy.
Yeah, it's.
But
true.
it's like, he used to be like, I don't spend much time
How about
campaigning.
that governor of Florida, though, man? He's not pulling any punches with this gun issue either.
I haven't heard of him since he dropped out of the electoral race. So,
Oh, that's yeah.
was Florida ever at risk of dumb gun laws?
No, he was making a statement that the ATF was what like.
Oh, that's another one. The ATF goes away. That's my other
yeah,
campaign.
Well, that somebody's actually
Basically, I'm going to kneecap most of the federal government. Literally, I will go into office being like, I am the self-destruct button.
Well, that's the whole drain the swamp.
I will be the government self-destruct button. I'm going to go in there and sign a bunch of executive orders that just demolish the government, and then my last executive order will be to ban future executive orders. Just be like,
Okay, but I think
the IRS is gone, the Department of Education is gone, the ATF is gone, the CIA is forever. No, hang on. Which one? The FBI can go forever. The CIA is getting quartered, and that's it. And
Why
then
do you need Central Intelligence Agency?
because the CIA, I mean, the question is, I guess, what's the difference between the CIA and the NSA? And the answer to that is no one knows.
Yeah, that's true.
But basically, the CIA is effectively the FBI internationally. I'm like, okay, we want some amount of ability to gain intel on foreign power. Fair enough. Not as much as we have, because most of the time they get up to whatever they want, which is a problem. But we could at least use it. The FBI, I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no reason we need to be surveilling our own people.
It's not surveilling.
It's mostly.
Mostly they travel around and deal with psychopathic and
Yeah, but even then I'm like, no,
serial
let's
killers.
just create a better system for how jurisdiction... Because essentially what that argument is, well, if a guy is in multiple states committing crimes, then who has the jurisdiction? It has to become a federal thing. I'm like, no, we'll just set up a system to share jurisdiction in those cases, and then we can just get rid of the FBI.
So in your opinion, you
This
would
is
take
precisely why
you would
Kennedy
take
got
the-
shot, I'd like to point
Well,
out.
that's true. You would take the Matrix approach. You're here to give me that jurisdiction crap.
Basically, it's just, I mean, I think that there needs to be some better protocol rather than just saying the feds are going to do it. It's like, well, the feds
that
suck at
is
everything.
certainly true.
So how about we come up with a better protocol, and then the feds don't have to do it.
Because they won't.
So all that effort seems to have proven that this room has nothing worth
So
seeing.
here's
in it.
here's the answer. Your campaign platform would be, if we can't, we won't.
Well, that's sure, and we can't. So we won't. There's quite a lot of things the government is the worst at, so it will stop doing them. Anything the government remains better at, it will keep doing. And that basically includes starting and ending war and trade, international trade even, not even domestic, and then that's it.
Well, I mean, even something like NATO is like, okay, well, that's...
I'd get out of NATO, too. That's another one.
That's our... Well, no, I agree.
We're leaving the UN.
We already left NATO, didn't we?
I
feel like we...
I don't think the
did.
budget knows that.
Someone hasn't...
Whoever's writing the checks hasn't been made aware of that. Hey, I found a thing. It doesn't do anything. Never mind. I thought this was some kind of control mechanism. So, I don't want to...
We're still stuck doing nonsense.
It would seem. We killed a bunch of things. See, there's an upstairs to this area, though. This was the room of death, but there's an upstairs room of death. But the doors are locked.
I'm going downstairs.
We could try... Don't... No! I'm not coming to get you again. You went back to the bad place.
I don't know that it is.
Well, it was adjacent to the butt zap, so it can't be that good.
Well, I'm wondering...
So
whether
yeah,
butt
we'd leave
zap
the
would
UN.
actually
I think we're still in the UN.
I can't recall. I swear that we exited some sort of...
I don't think it was the UN. We should get out of the UN. I don't know. Leave the... So let's wrap up. Yeah, leave the UN, shut down the ATF, and I mean a bunch of other government departments, let's be fair. Lobbying
ATF
is
was not... Yeah,
lobbying's no longer allowed. Insurance is a scam. I mean, I'd call it job done if we got any of this. So I mean, do I need much more? What more do I need to win the vote of the Minnesotans? Whoop! Wait, is this a butt zap? I don't want a butt zap. Butt zap. Well, hang on. Is the butt zap? I'm on the second level. Is this a second tier butt zap? Oh, well, it's a butt zap from the second floor. Oh, but I see enemies now, which means it's the right butt zap. Everyone knows enemies means you're in the right place.
Everyone knows you've zapped to the right place when you see
When the enemies arrive, zap to the right butt. Well, okay then.
When the enemies are here, zap...
See, the answer, the real
zap
question that
butts.
needs to be asked is, why isn't there a politician who does this other than the fact that he'd be shot immediately?
Because they don't stick around very long. That's the problem. Because of all
Yeah, but
these
see, I would
lobbyists.
use that to my advantage. I would destabilize everything and then leave.
Yeah, but you wouldn't stay long enough to destabilize everything. That's the whole
You
point.
only get 8 years. 4 at the minimum. Just be like, okay, if it's a bunch of executive orders hobbling the government forever, then the last executive order is no more executive orders, and then I basically don't have to stick around because I've done what I needed to do. Is this the butt zap room? Have you gone back to the butt zap room? You did! No, you didn't. This is not the light bridge room. There's enemies around, but they're not actually around. Oh, hey, well, okay, they gave it... This was much better. The game took pity on us this time. Gave us practically a staircase. I'd like to point out, though, that I'm still impressed with what I accomplished last time.
Well, I'll grant you that was...
So anyways, What other based policies should we enact? Because that's basically what we just need to ask people is go to rural Iowa and say, what would you do if you were president for a day? And then do that. I mean, the amount of money you'll save by canceling half of the government is enough to justify, like, I don't know, free beer on Tuesdays or something. Like, if Bubba says that, you'll probably make enough money to allow that. So just... Okay, well, I've clearly gone in the right direction.
Where are you?
Alone, in the dark, and afraid, and naked.
Okay. Did they strip you after you were alone and afraid?
Well, no.
Is that what happened?
That happened before.
You stripped down and then you were alone and afraid. Well, I can explain some things.
I thought I'd have more privacy in here.
We also need to unpack some things as well.
Well, I did.
It's not what you think.
The unpacking has been already accomplished, I assure you. Well, you haven't given us what's your campaign?
Oh, I don't. I was simply suggesting that it's a sad state of affairs when people can, I mean, this has always been the truth, but money talks to a degree that it.
Yes, why super PACs are illegal now.
Well, yeah.
Because it means even the simplest thing would be to say, and this wouldn't solve it because there'd be loopholes and people who are too rich to quash. But the simplest thing would be to say nobody but an individual, like you're only allowed to give only individuals are allowed to give money to politicians.
Yeah, but that wouldn't really change that much, really.
Well, I think it would change it a little bit because the problem now is that most super PACs are funded by other corporations.
Sure.
So they're making money, and most of their money comes from these corporations. So those are the causes that get taken to government is big business, basically.
Well, and then
whereas
government
now that
starts
means
to
you'd
serve,
still have.
But see, this is my point.
You'd still have millionaires like George Soros who can
serve big business rather than the other way around.
Well, that's precisely my point. I don't know why you did that. I tried to press the X to summon the thing, and then a bunch of stuff exploded. So the fact that we got attacked in this room suggests this was the right way to go. But the elevator no longer works, and there's no other doors but the one we came through.
We're in a bad room, and it just won't let us out. Oh.
No, there is obviously the fault that rich individuals could still spend a lot of money to have what they want passed through, and that does. So there's a problem with that. But I still think that would take out a lot of.
It would certainly mitigate the problem.
Well, and that's, I guess, yeah, that might be the best first step at least.
It is, yes. I just find it obnoxious. I think on a local level, I find it more obnoxious because you go to an event like this going, let's find out about all the things that we could be excited about and be behind and whatever else, and then you end up just being there basically creating all this hoopla around people that have already spent a bunch of money. It's like, why mold spores?
Where are you with the mold spores?
Just one over here. I'm just lone wolfing it, but it's not anything interesting. I'm stuck in a corner, stuck between a rock and a mold spore.
That's a great way to get Lyme disease. Oh, well, I found some guys. In a bad way, it seems. Oh, they don't react well to slappery. I don't know. I just don't get it. I mean, I do, but I'm annoyed by it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, it was a great night. The gala
you could also
fun.
just say no one's allowed to give money at all, but that might... I mean...
See, there's a part of it that... Here's what it is. Here's really where I take issue. A gala is fun, and if you're like, oh, we're all here because we're part of the city council, or we're here because we're part of the Chamber of Commerce, great. But if it's like a upper echelon, again, it's a social club, it's like, okay, if this is just some gathering of a bunch of posh, rich people simply to to say, look at how rich we are. I spent more money than my mom spent on crack this year.
When I spent that much, I spent twice that much. Ah, quick, quick, quick!
Don't leave me, Billy, no! Anyway, that's not any disrespect to any billionaires or
except it is, clearly.
Or moms with crack problems. But I don't know. I take issue with you getting special treatment.
We got Flood with guns. Flood with guns.
They've got worms in their guns.
Well, that would be good, actually. That'd probably make them less effective.
They've got guns in their tubes.
Well, they've certainly got tubes in their guns. That's how that works.
They've got well rods in their...
I doubt they've got those nowadays.
I'm joking.
What kind of guns do you think these guys are carrying around? So, I don't know. I'm just saying, have you heard about I wasn't gonna... Oh. Okay, the bridge is inconsistent. Have you heard about the Argentinian guy who's nuts but great?
No, clearly not.
So basically, I think he was elected like last year, and his whole campaign was like, I'm gonna gut the government. And then he seems to have done that, and it's like, well, good for him. Because the thing that made him famous, he's a Spanish guy, obviously, because South America. Argentina. I forgot for a second if I had said it or not. This seems like it's not long enough for me to run across.
What?
This bridge, it flickers. It seems to flicker with differing times, though.
Now, when I have a shield on and then I pick up active camouflage, does it compound the two, or does it just say, to heck with the shield, you have active camouflage now? Because I feel
I'm
like
gonna take a stab. Whoa! We say way. Oh, nope. Uh-oh. Whoa, okay, I am in a problem. Oh, not anymore. The problem sorted me out. But yeah, his whole thing is he had a video where he had, like, on a whiteboard, or he had a bunch of the names of government departments, and he was like, and so he went down the list saying, like, Department of Education, afuera! Department of Women, Department of Women's whatever, afuera! And so that became, like, his thing that everyone knows him for.
Afuera, that just means outside.
Well, I mean,
well,
throw it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's great. I think we need more of him. So let's have some more of him in the world. It just says, hey, do we really need the IRS?
No.
Oh. I mean, you got to have some kind of tax collecting arm, but does it need to be as beefy an arm?
Well, they've winked themselves beefy. I mean, like, I'm sorry, that's a terribly crass way of saying that, but to be honest, that is the truth.
Well, there's certainly a lot of jerking happening.
That's what I'm saying. One thing that drives me crazy about the IRS is the idea that they literally play this stupid game every single year where they're like, you owe us some money. And we're like, okay, how much? And they're like, we're not going to tell you. We hope you get it right. Because if you don't, we're going to come after you.
Well, more likely what it is you owe us some money. Fine, here's the money. Next year, sorry, we took too much money.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, I swear, it's a racket.
Well, what is government but the only legal racket?
Well, that's hence why I think that actual racketeering really isn't all that bad.
Well, I mean, no, but see, I don't agree exactly. I mean, you could make the case that is it really morally different? No.
It's not.
But that doesn't mean that it's like, well, we should just accept it.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Insurance is a scam, though. That would be my policy, is all insurance companies are going away. Ask me how that will be accomplished.
Starting with Allstate.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really care about any of them specifically.
I was making a joke.
So yeah, I think that's about all I got.
Starting with Allstate. Are you in our hands?
Well, something's in your hands.
Now we're back to what I said earlier about the beefy arm.
Oh. Well, that would...
All right, fine. I'll go collect the taxes.
That's the other thing. Oh, yeah, no income tax. I'm getting rid of that. Basically, I will return to mercantilism.
Well, but isn't that a better...
Well, there are people who say no, and the reason I still don't quite grasp. Because essentially the reason people say no is like, but what about globalism? And I'm like, what about it? How about meism?
Meism.
That will be...
individualism. That's what
Yeah.
this...
I mean,
Oh!
essentially, every politician should have as his primary goal in life to make his country better than every other.
Yes.
This idea of like, well, we have to play nice. It's like, no.
No!
My politics is Americanism. That's what I'm calling it. Which is, I seek to make America better than all of your other countries. And, if that offends you, I don't know why. You should do the same for your countries, and then we'll see who wins.
You can't do that. There actually will be...
Because basically, the argument against mercantilism is literally just, well, international markets
can't
provide, I guess, a more diverse, like... If you play nicely with other international market systems, then everyone benefits from essentially a globalized economy. But I'm like, yeah, but it's clearly not everyone benefits from a globalized
globalization is
economy.
also another big problem, in my opinion.
Exactly, but it's just like that was the assumption for several hundred years. Was like, it's better. And I mean, I suppose if you can establish a certain level of good faith, but the problem is we didn't establish that. We just assumed all countries on the global scale are good actors. Like everyone's gonna, work for the benefit of all, and it's like, well, that doesn't happen. So, something, for example, like NAFTA makes a little bit of sense, where it's like, okay, we're gonna have a certain amount of trade agreement between our immediate neighbors, because that benefits all of us. Oh, we found another butt zap room. So we're not gonna extort, Mexican and Canadian companies with tariffs when we're neighbors, and it would be much better for us to all trade with not as much
red tape.
Yeah, but like I don't feel like we need to extend that courtesy to every country on Earth.
Well, and that's the thing. It becomes that's not fair because that's not equivalent. People often
it's not even that it's equivalent.
Well,
it's just
listen,
that
though,
people
often
seem to assume that level of goodwill will just immediately be returned.
But they also, I feel like
It's
a part
like,
of the problem
what do you
is
know
that
about
they
politics?
often conflate fairness with
But even
like,
then, I don't even think that it is
direct
fairness, because I
equivalence.
think it's just ignorance, to be honest.
Well, I'm not even. Yeah, but I mean, they think okay.
'Cause
In order to be
these
fair, it
ideas
has to
came
be
around in
equivalent,
the-
which isn't true.
But see, I don't think that that's inherently the case, because this kind of mercantilism was something that was gone away from a long time before equality was the word of the day. And I think it was just because there was a kind of ignorant assumption that, well, we'll all just play by the same rules, and we'll all, work for each other's benefit, and we will all have the same goodwill for one another. But it's like, well, that was an assumption that you just accepted on faith without actually putting in any proof. Because it turns out, no, there isn't always good faith. So you say, we'll abide by these rules, and another country says, yes, we will, wink wink. And then they don't, and you do, and they're doing better, and you're screwed. So basically, mercantilism plus, let's call it. Where it's like, sure, if you're willing to, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I guess people would criticize this for essentially being a kind of covert American empire, but I'm like, well, technically we've had that for a while, and it used to work out.
Well,
I say that from an obviously biased position, but
I think
I think South Korea is doing pretty well, so what does anyone have to complain about? Well, okay. I mean, fair enough, Iran has some things to complain about, but I've already gotten rid of the CIA by this point, so they should be appeased. That's what we'll do. Instead of disbanding the CIA, we'll just relocate their offices to Iran. And then, what happens, happens. Iran gets to feel like they're justified. We get to get rid of the CIA. We'll just ignore everything else.
Well, everything else will probably follow suit simply with those two being ousted.
Hold on, what? Okay, I wasn't talking about... What do you...
I'm saying everything...
I'm saying the criticisms that most countries can levy against us, which are fair,
Yes.
are the CIA's fault, not the government's fault. I mean, I know that sounds like splitting hairs, but
yes, but I'm saying then.
So basically, like, Iran has reasons to have grievances with us, but it's because of the CIA. It's not because of anything.
Well, but that's
the
my
government
point.
did.
Once you remove that.
Yeah, so we'll just say, okay, yeah, here, you can have the CIA. We don't want it back. Whatever you choose to do with it, we will look the other way. And then, you know, we're all appeased. We get to get rid of the CIA. They get whatever vengeance they feel they deserve.
Well, but then I guess what I was saying. And then all the other problems that are seeming like...
Because that's the thing is, I mean, and again, I'm going to sound...
We have issues with Iran's trading deal with us.
I'm going to sound very much like a sneering...
CIA. All right.
I'm going to sound like a sneering imperialist.
All right, we'll hide it.
But essentially... Well, sure. But essentially, like, there were countries with which we had some amount of a heavy political influence, such as the examples of frequently given are Japan and South Korea. And I won't go so far as to say, look at them now, it's all because of us. It's not. But there's a reason we still enjoy pretty healthy relationships with them, and we've all benefited. That's what I'll say to prevent myself from getting in trouble. You gotta stay alive for me. But, like, the ways we intervened in Iran were not through government partnership. It was through CIA being a bunch of jerks. I could use stronger language, but I won't. So that's my main... So I suppose what I mean to say is that the concept of the American Empire, such as it is it worked for a while before the CIA got involved.
Yes.
That's, I guess, all I'll say. And some people will say that makes me, I don't know what, hyper-nationalist or something.
So be it.
I mean,
because
the problem is
the worst thing you can levy against me. I'm okay.
Because
good for me too. I'm okay.
Because, I mean, this is going to sound worse, but there's a degree to which the British Empire, things got worse when they went away. I'm just going to say that.
Sure, I mean...
So, now, in essence, we've taken their place, but we've seemed to have done so with an air of, like, almost shame about it. It's like, oh, too bad we have to pick this up now. It's like, no, we should just be that. Because, I mean, I don't know. People are going to probably make this sound like, oh, this is quintessential American arrogance. I'm like, well, fine, fair enough. I'm an arrogant American. What do you expect? But, I pushed the button. There we go. Oh, we're going up this time, not down. Unless this means we're going in the wrong direction. Oh! Nope. Doesn't seem like it. So that's my point is, if we acknowledge, because that's the other problem is we don't acknowledge that we have that position. We try to act like, no, we're all equals here. We're not, you know, the American Empire, that doesn't really exist. It's like, no, it does.
Yeah. It's
not a colonial empire in the way the previous empires have been, but it is a financial empire in essence. And the problem is we've abdicated that position without really doing it properly. Like, you could make the argument that the British Empire was broken up, competently at least, whether or not you think it was a good thing to do. It's like they basically went, okay, we're going to give independence to all these various countries, we're going to set up these sorts of things for them, and then we're going to leave them on their own and they'll govern themselves from here on out. And how they govern themselves from there on is up to them. We haven't even done that. We're just like, no, we're going to deny that we are in this position while not actually giving up the position. It's like, okay, that just means that the job isn't being done right. And I think the world can tell.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're disingenuous to
the question is, would people resent us as much if we were actually a functioning empire as opposed to a non-functional empire?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we seem to have taken it as read that what we should not be is an empire. And it's like, well, okay. What is that based on other than guilt for things we...
Or our own frustrations about empires we've broken away from.
Well, but even then, it's like we basically immediately we had good relationship with the British. So it's like we don't even get to claim that. It's like we didn't ever have a period of resenting the British. Basically, that was you. I just saw a bunch of green things, and you were one of them.
Very blurry moving things.
So, like, the only empire we've ever had experience with, we've mostly had positive relationships with, pretty much right as soon as we were separate from them.
Sure.
So, I don't know. It's just that people seem to have taken it on faith that empires are a bad thing. It's like, no, bad empires are bad, good empires are good. Could we not get behind that notion, or is there something wrong with that notion?
Imperialism isn't the issue, for sure.
I don't think it is. Whoop. Knocking mics around. Oh boy. Hang on. I'm gonna get swarmed, I know it. Whoa. I don't know, it's essentially the same thing as like, oh, monarchy is inherently a problem. It's like, well, really not. No. Bad monarchies are bad, and good monarchies are good. The trouble with that is it changes more than people want it to, because they'd rather a system that is constantly good or constantly, well, they would prefer one that isn't constantly bad.
By definition, a system that is stagnant.
Well, that's the trouble, is they're trying to sort of create a system. But see, that's what we've got, is we have this idea of, well, the system stays the same, but the people are constantly going in and out of it. That's sort of what we have. And we've learned that that doesn't work. Because not everybody... In essence, the trouble is the wrong people are getting kicked out every 8 years. Like, I'd rather say we vote in a president for, you know, however long. Well, FDR still makes me have a bad taste in my mouth when I say that. So, perhaps instead we'll just say every 8 years the entire government apparatus has to go. And that, of course...
I can't remember which book that is
from. That of course
kind of describes that exact plan, where it's
I
like...
haven't read such a book, but the trouble is it would, of course, make the concept of putting together an administration even more daunting than it already is. But, like, you may as well just say, okay, literally every government person goes every 8 years. You don't get, you know, the idea that the director of the FBI or the director of the CIA or all these state departments keep the same people when the executive branch or the executive branch changes every year, or the legislative branch changes every several years. It's like, no, everything has to go, because the problem is those that stay are the ones who keep the power.
Well, yeah.
So in essence, you'd either have to say
the funny thing is, though, the people that are successful at leading others or leading cities or even, you know, whatever it is, are the ones that go, yeah, now that my term is done, I'm done. Like, they're not going to be the ones that are like, let's double down and make sure I stay in office.
Yeah, but they're also going to be the ones that don't. The ones that stay will undo everything they've done. So the ones that stay can't stay.
Yes, that I agree with. What I'm getting at is that it also has a degree of weeding, or it has the capability of weeding out those that are just wanting to be in politics for the sake of their own.
Yeah, but we don't have that system. We have the opposite system. Those who
right
want
now,
to stay
yes,
are the ones who stay.
I understand that. Right now, we do. I'm talking about if we did have a better system.
Well, and this is also, I think, you'd have to radically shrink the size of the government. Then changing everybody out every election wouldn't be as daunting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a mess. But vote for me if you want to not pay income tax or insurance, or to see the CIA get its just desserts. Because honestly, let's just divvy them up. Iran. Who else has grievances with the CIA?
Everybody.
Russia. Probably. I don't know. Consider it a peace offering. That'll be what I'll do. I'll do a political tour to all of the countries who have beef with us and be like, okay, how much beef do you have? What percentage of the CIA do you want? Okay.
You want that man right there. That probably would be certain people that just like, that's all we're looking for.
I mean, I recognize that what I'm advocating is a form of political genocide, but it's not racially based.
For what it's worth, it's because they merited this.
Well, I mean, argument. I suppose. Okay, let's hear. Here's how you'd have to. Here's how you'd have to do it. You have to be like, all right, okay.
All right,
okay. Iran.
Yes,
Give it. Iran.
Yes, okay, I will.
Iran. What are your grievances? Okay, these happened in the 70s. Well, I'm sorry, we don't have any CIA members still around from the 70s, so we can't give you any of them. Except maybe, I don't know, this guy who's about to retire, you can have him. Whereas, I don't know, whoever we've angered more recently, just be like, okay, no, yeah, they're all still, these guys are, maybe what you just do is just extradite them. Just be like, okay, here, arrest these people for whatever crimes you think they've committed, because they probably have. I know, I mean, it's something, the problem is people are going to go, but they're American citizens and you're turning your back on them. It's like, we'll just convict them all of treason. Because, I mean, it's not as flimsy a case as it might seem. What is this? There's a friendly drone in the middle of the lake. Okay, well, he seems pretty sure they'll attack me if I start attacking them. Well, there's our hour of political ranting because we got to get it out every once in a while. You guys, so do you want any position in this cabinet, or I mean, are you just content to be?
I'm simply making the case that, I mean, yes, I think you took it to a little bit more of a broad global level. What I was
there you go, perfect.
What ending. I was saying was on a city and even just local level, how do you get involved in order to stave that off?
Well, you
even
just
on
get involved is the problem.
So that well, yes, but I'm saying,
if you don't like it, you gotta do something
does lobbying exist within a local level? I think so.
I mean, I'm sure it must, but I don't think that's the problem. I think federal lobbying causes a great deal more problems.
Well, sure. The federal government's always been, but it's only bigger in that it's a representation of what's already endemic in the smaller, is what I would say.
I don't agree. I don't necessarily think. I mean, federalism by nature is top down.
Sure.
Because I think the thing is, in a local context, there might be lobbying groups, but it's still much easier to have your own voice heard because there's just less people who can be heard.
Well, that's my point.
So I suppose you make up a larger percentage of the population, whereas if you've got various lobbying groups from all over the country in Washington, your voice isn't going to mean jack.
Right.
Whereas if you've got local lobbying groups because of businesses, I mean, it's like, yes, you're competing maybe with people who have more money, but you're all still local. I mean, it's not, you're competing with local
scale.
Not purely though. It's also locality where you're saying, if you're only having to try to get your voice heard in the group that you're currently in, that's a smaller group of which you make up a larger percentage than on a national level.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
There you go.
This counted as a checkpoint, I'm thinking. Now the question is it a different level?
I think so.
I don't know, but it's a checkpoint, so that'll do. So I don't know. Do you want any position since I'm openly nepotistic in this government? I mean, I guess I haven't said that I would be, but I mean, I don't know. You could do.
You just did.
You could do a better job than anybody else. Probably. I mean, most likely.
I don't know. I
make you head of
government, head of people that shouldn't be involved. Anybody that sticks there.
What does that mean?
I don't like people that intend to be career politicians, which is, again, we talked about a bit, but it's like, if you are intending to stay long term, you probably ought not.
Okay, but what position would give you that? I don't know. You want to be the Attorney General or something? I don't know enough about federal politics.
I'll be the Supreme Court Justice. How about that?
Well, I don't think I can install you like that. Well, I mean, technically, I suppose I could. I mean, I could nominate you, but the problem is, that doesn't apply to what you were just talking about, though, because that's a different case.
You could, sure.
Like, you don't get to. You'd have to wait for stuff to come to you. You wouldn't be able to do anything actively.
Bring that man to me. Why? Just trust me.
I don't know. You could be chief of the Gestapo.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Less is more. We've already said this.
Well, yeah. I will only be an authoritarian until the government is hobbled. Then I'll give it all up, I promise.
Spoken like a true authoritarian.
I mean, Caesar said, we never know what Caesar would have done.
I'm just gonna let you hang yourself.
Well,
with
no,
that.
okay, hang on. I'll defend this position because I think it's partially true. The thing is, they killed him because they were like, he's too powerful and he'll become a tyrant. And it's like, but he wasn't a tyrant. So you killed him to prevent him from becoming something that you don't know he was going to become. Because for the most part, he was actually very popular.
Sure.
Because he did things that people wanted. So this is the thing, is if I became president and did things that a bunch of the people in the country wanted...
But that only answers the question for your generation. Does that make sense? If the next person down the
but
line
I'm gonna die.
is a... Well, yeah. So you're only concerned about things when you're alive.
Well, but I'm saying...
That's not...
I'm not suggesting that I would then install the next guy. I would say I'm gonna hobble the government.
Next guy could potentially be a fascist dictator.
Well, then they have to deal with him.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, wash your hands. You're already dead now, so it doesn't matter.
Well, but hopefully I will have destabilized the government to such a degree that level of I will be the last tyrant. I will use the authority to remove the authority from the future.
That's so. Okay.
Think about it. It's just, I mean, it's all goes down to you use a bunch of executive orders. I don't like executive orders, but you get it all done, and then the last one is no more executive orders. So then I've basically kneecapped the government, which means nobody else will ever have the same power I had. But then I gave it up and said, now we have to go back to small government, and we're getting rid of barriers to local stuff. Make your local communities more important than the federal government. And then, essentially, I have to have the power to get rid of the power. It's the Thanos thing. I got to destroy the stones after I've used them.
Sure.
So people can not like me, but I will be the last tyrant. Is that not at least a compelling...
Coming in May, look for that new movie, The Last Tyrant. You've seen The Last Samurai. This is the...
I bet you a movie like that already exists.
That's probably true.
Or should exist to be a good plot.
There you go.
I'm going to write that up. Submit it to the Daily Wire. See what they think.
Next session, we're going to be talking about our new movie.
Yeah, storyboard and all sorts of things. Anyways, do a round table of just me doing voices again because that's all I've been doing. Now I just feel like because now I'm imagining some weird indie film where it's just going to zoom out and I'm in a cell with a mic rocking back and forth going.
Just one chair, like Jerry's game, like him switching back and forth between two chairs.
Getting a workout in too, apparently.